So, I haven't done any political videos on the channel in quite a long time. We played Democracy 3 a little bit not long ago, and if you watch that series, you know what my political leanings are, but even in that, I didn't really get into actual politics that much. But I haven't done an actual talking head video opinion segment, although I'm not going to label this as an opinion segment because there's no opinions on this matter. There's facts and then there's lies. I don't care if I lose subscribers because of this. I know a lot of YouTubers don't talk about politics at all because they know that they might lose subscribers. And they will lose subscribers most likely. Almost 50% of the population voted for this to happen, basically. We all knew something like this could happen. We all know what happens when you tell people for 4 years straight that everything's a lie, that everything that's true is fake and everything that's false is true. What are they supposed to do? They probably feel the same way I do right now because they've just been so indoctrinated to believe it. And so while we've lived through this for 4 years now, you'd think I'd have a stronger hide about this sort of thing by this point. January 6th, 2021, domestic terrorists attacked the Capitol building of the United States of America. They pushed past police barricades. They broke in through the windows, through the doors. They stormed the building. They broke into offices. They stole government property. They photographed sensitive documents. They violated the sanctity of the most important building in the United States. But I think the reason why yesterday bothered me so much compared to everything else that's happened over the past 4 years, which all of it's terrible. Again, I haven't done an opinion segment on the channel in forever. I have lots of opinions I talk about all the time on my Facebook page. I talk about politics constantly. If you watch me for the last 4 years, you know what my opinions are, and I've said it all the time. I actually stopped posting them as often after Biden won the election because I thought we were basically done with this. I thought this terrible president wasn't going to have anything else he could do at this point. I was wrong. The reason it bothered me so much, I think, is just growing up in the 90s, at least in my position. I know I lived a privileged life, so I was probably out of touch. I was out of touch. I basically thought that war, racism, sexism, riots, I always thought that stuff was in the past. I always thought that was a long time ago. That's the stuff you read in history books. That's all gone now. Because everywhere I looked on television, men, women, black people, people of different minority groups were all represented in TV by the point that we were in the 90s. Black music, rap. If anything, we were starting to adopt black culture like in droves by the 90s and early 2000s. So I thought this kind of stuff was over. I know it wasn't now, of course. I learned that a long time ago. Even still, I think in some ways we were more progressive at that time. Maybe not compared to like 2015. Of course, we're way more progressive by then. But the progress that we've lost in the 4 years of regression, I think it set us back to a pre-90s era of progression. So that's why it startled me so much, I think. Of course, it was just always there. It was just buried 1 inch deep under the surface. And all it took was one insane egomaniac to drag all this stuff back out, wars, racism, sexism, and then put it on a pedestal and put that perspective, most important seat of power in the world. I don't know how we let it happen. The one thing that Trump didn't do is he didn't compromise on what he promised in his campaign. He delivered on his hatred of Mexican immigrants. He delivered on his hatred of China. He delivered on curtailing women's rights by replacing the most important Supreme Court justice for women's rights in the world with someone who doesn't care about it at all. Hypocritically, I might add, because Mitch McConnell, when Justice Scalia died under President Obama, hundreds of days before the election, he blocked Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland to that seat. You know what Mitch McConnell said when he did that? He said that next time, if under a Republican president it's an election year, we won't stop Democrats from blocking it until the election. Guess what? Like 30 days before the election, RBG died, and they rushed to replace her immediately. No reservations. At which point, Trump had stacked the Supreme Court in his favor with 3 of his own nominees on top of every other Republican justice in there. Have a massive lead. And even after Joe Biden won the election, after over 60 court cases had gone through the courts, none of them with evidence, none of them even alleging fraud, because no one wanted to get debarred because they didn't have evidence for fraud, and you have to be able to present evidence to make such an accusation as big as that. I don't know why I'm wearing my headset. Listen to anything right now. We're not playing a game. After all those court cases went through, no evidence, never presented any evidence, never found any. Every Trump-supporting Republican out there was dead set that, once this hits the Supreme Court, it's over because he stacked it. They rejected it. Because the court, even stacked with 3 justices appointed directly by Trump, knew that this is just absolute insanity, that there's no evidence, that there's no reason to give credence to this. And you'd think that would be the end of it. The Supreme Court of the United States is supposed to be where everything stops. If it can't get past the Supreme Court, it's done. But he's so insane, so out of touch. I don't know. He's always been unhinged. Maybe COVID has damaging effects on the brain. We've seen it in countless people. One of my relatives got COVID and has suffered brain damage from it. Thank God he lived. Maybe that's what happened to him. But he continued to suppress it. He never conceded. And then on the day the Electoral College votes supposed to be counted, he told his supporters to march up to the Capitol building, that he'd be there with them, but he was a coward, so he didn't go with them because he knew what was going to happen. He knew they were going to perform a coup or try their best to make it happen. Told him to march up to the Capitol and force the Republican majority Senate to vote against the free and fair election of the United States of America that has been proven to be completely true. He wants Congress to have the ability to overturn the will of the American people on elections. If you're a Republican, I want you to ask yourself, in 2024, let's say Mike Pence wins the election, popular vote and electoral vote. Do you want the Democratic-led Senate, the Democratic-led House? Because that's where it's at right now. Do you want them to be like, no, he didn't win? Because that's what he wants. That's what Trump wants. That's what the people, that's what the terrorists invading the Capitol wanted. Terrorists that broke into the building that day were not patriots. They don't love democracy. It doesn't matter what else you want to call them. I don't know if I want to call them fascists. I don't know if I want to call them monarchists. Because they talk all the time about how they want, once Trump dies, they want his son to take over, and then they want Barron to take over after that, yada yada. I don't know if you want to call them Confederates, because they brought Confederate flags into the capital of the United States of America, further than the actual Confederate Army was ever able to take them. People are brainwashed so far at this point that there's no way to ever get the truth through to them. I've tried. so many times. Just the other day, I was arguing with someone about what happened, and they said I have to prove that the election wasn't rigged. That's not how law works. The prosecution has to prove their case. The defense doesn't have to prove their case. He wants impossible to provide proof that the election isn't rigged, despite countless recounts paid for by the president, done by Republican-led states. I was like, what do you want? Do you want every single American in the United States to all hand count every single vote? He's like, yes. No one has time to do that. It's insane. That would take centuries just to do one election. For every single American to count every vote, most people would be dead by the time it was done. That's what they want. And, they wouldn't accept it even after they did that, right? If you voted for Trump in 2016, it was one thing. You wanted change. We felt the same way when it was time to get rid of Bush and replace him with Obama. It'll go down in history as a huge mistake. You're in your right to do that. If you voted for him again, that's a stamp of approval of everything he said, everything he did. But even that, I can forgive if you don't support him anymore after what happened on the 6th. Because what he did, inciting his people to do this riot, I didn't even know that he had done that speech until after the Capitol had been ransacked, basically. And I was shocked to find that out. That he had told them to go march to the Capitol and do this. And then when he was supposed to come on TV and defuse the situation, not only did he not go on live TV, not only did he not go in person to stop these people because they would have listened to him, he just did a pre-recorded message saying that they're right, the election was stolen, it was false, tells them to go home, but he's basically just been forced to do that. That doesn't work. Not good enough. It's not genuine. He's finally conceded, but it's just too late. The damage is done. No one's ever going to believe that he really wants to concede at this point. So if you've supported him now, after all that, now you've crossed the line. Now you've supported the overthrow of democracy in America. You've supported terrorism in the capital of the United States. And history's going to judge you for that.